read one passage from the Bible before I begin my testimony, which is found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, and verses 5 through 6. This is a familiar verses all of us know. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, and verses 5 through 6, the Bible says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil." So this is the scripture uh, with which I would like to begin with. In the year 2003, I finished my education, my schooling actually, in the year 2003. After which my parents left me with my grandmother, and they went to another village to serve God as a volunteer pastor. My father was a volunteer pastor. My mother also shifted with him, and I was left alone with my grandmother with for further education. My life has been a life of struggle, basically in the aspect of finance. We are three siblings, and we could not complete our education just because of the finance. But we didn't realize at that time why we are suffering. Later on in our days, we came to know actually the circumstances that we went through are actually a call from God, and we want to thank God for that. In 2007, after I could not complete my education, I also moved to the village where my parents were working as a volunteer pastor for the church. He was asked to establish and plant a church from the scratch. Although I was born and brought up in the Adventist family, during that time I never felt that God is calling me. I was not interested in my spiritual life. I was not interested in a religious aspect of life. What all I know was that I'm an Adventist. I'm supposed to be at home on Sabbath, and I should not go anywhere. I should not do anything. That was my life, and I never felt that I would be called by God, and I would respond, "God, here I am, Father. Here I am, O Lord, and use me. Here I am completely, totally yours." Um, since I did not have much education in my life, I joined a medical shop where I became a salesman. I worked there for 3 years in the from the year of 2005, 6, and 7. During which time I have an auntie who was a division committee member by then, and they had introduced Thousand Missionary Movement India. They had launched Our church had launched Thousand Missionary Movement India for the first time at Spicer, and I was privileged to join Thousand Missionary Movement India in the first batch. So I want to thank God that I was the part of the first batch with the 9 students at Spicer College. Let me also tell you that I came from my own language schooling system. I did not know English much. I was not knowing English, but it is all the result of prayer and fasting that I did during my initial days of ministry. Um, and Spicer was something great for me. I never saw Spicer before I joined Thousand Missionary Movement. Spicer was something that I would only dream about. And my aunt came with a message when she came from a division committee, and she said, there is a project in Spicer, Thousand Missionary Movement India, and so are sponsoring you, and you have to go. As a salesman in a medical shop, that news came to me as as if my dream is coming to true. And but I was also nervous at that time because uh, Spicer means you need money to go and get educated there. But this plan, Thousand Missionary Movement, was not costing so much during that time. It was only 2,000 rupees for 2 months, where you would be trained and then you would be sent into the mission field for another 10 months, where you have to work and then come back. And if you are willing to continue as a missionary, you can, or else you can do your own. So it was a plan, it was a project of 1 year. So I joined for the training, not knowing English, and everything was in English. Where we were trained, where we were asked to get up early in the morning by 5 o'clock for personal devotion. And as you know, that I was least interested in a religious and spiritual. So towards the end of my training program, um, when the training report was presented, uh, I was amazed to see my picture sleeping at 5 o'clock, where all the students used to wake up for personal devotion. And well, those were the other days. Somehow God worked in my life, and I practiced waking up at 5 o'clock for my personal devotion. I want to thank God. That was the part of the training at Thousand Missionary Movement. After the 2 months of training, we were sent to our mission field. I had never been to Andhra Pradesh before. I never left my own place and gone anywhere for ministry. I was a pampered child of my parent, and after towards at the end of these two months of training in Thousand Missionary Movement, I was sent. I was asked to go to Andhra Pradesh, a place called Bobili, where I was to work for as a missionary there. I I was very young, afraid to go. No one was to accompany with me, where to go and whom to meet and what to do. It was totally blank. I was just given a handful of money that would help me during my travel from Pune to Andhra Pradesh, sorry, Bobli, which was my mission field. I got down there at 3 o'clock in the morning in Vijayanagaram. I don't know if you are here, somebody from that place, but I got down there at Vijayanagaram and went to the exit where two two people were waiting for me to receive, and they took me to Bobli, another 3 hours from Vijayanagaram to Bobli. We have a blind school there, Adventist blind school, blind hostel, where I was kept. I enjoyed doing God's work there. That's where um, I felt that God is calling me in that remote area. In that Bobli is a place, is a beautiful campus. During that time, there was nothing except our campus, Bobli Blind School there. I don't know now what is the situation, but I used to go with those blind students in the field of peanuts, and I would help them. I learned how to take out those peanuts and from the ground there. That was my actual training program. And after completing the mission field for 10 months in Bobli, I came back for my graduation for a missionary. That was a mission field graduation, and the other graduation was training graduation. So I came back and I decided to continue. I decided to continue and learn more about God. That means to do theology at Spicer again. But there was another problem that I had to go through, is that finance. Theology is not uh, is not a cheap you cannot do theology if you don't have, at least in those days, um, we had to pay 1 lakh or 50,000 at that time uh, for the entire course of theology. Um, so I was nervous, but I remembered the words of the president by then, who was the president of Spicer College. He came and addressed those who wish to join theology. They can come and approach me. I will personally sponsor them. These were the words rang in my ear. Before that, I actually prayed, and God reminded me of His words. So in 2009, after the training, after the mission field work, I again went to Spicer with a 10,000 rupees check in my hand that I had got from my section office. Mm, and to my amaze, after the 6 months of my theology, that is the first semester, my check, which I had brought with me initially in Spicer, was bounced, and the VPFA called me and said that, fellow, you brought the check and it was bounced, and we are putting a charge on you for some amount extra. Again, I was frustrated. I said, God, you brought me here, and I was admitted somehow with the bounced check, nevertheless. And now I cannot pay my fee and continue my studies. The VPA said, you better pack up your things and go if you don't have money to further to do your studies further. I went to my room. I started packing. Some of my friends said, where are you going? I said, I have no money. I am going back home. Because if I have to study further, if I have to I registered myself for the second semester, I need to pay more money. They said, why don't you go for a work plan? I had two elder sisters who were already in work plan, and I've experienced how they struggle in their life, and how they took much time to finish their studies. I am the youngest in the family, and two elder sisters who worked who also were in Spice at that time, and they worked very hard in cafeteria, and they finished their studies and they came out. Um, so I packed up my things, but before coming out of Spicer at the gate, uh, I kept my bag there, and I went to see one professor, one of the administrators in his office, and said, uh, with whatever small little English that I knew, I spoke to him. I said, sir, I'm going. I have no money to pay and I'm leaving. I am ready with the bag. I thought to meet you first, and then I would start my journey back home. Then he advised me not to go. No, he did not say not to go. He just said, as you have come to meet me, please also go and meet president before you can go. Maybe you can go home. And I said, sir, I am afraid of meeting president. I have never met him before. I am a very shy guy, and I may not be able to face him. And he encouraged me. He said, don't worry, you just go and speak him. He knows Marathi very well. Although the president was not a Maharashtrian, but he spoke Marathi very well. I respected Marathi. I really appreciate him. And I went and I talked to him, sir, and I reminded the president of his promise making to the missionaries that whoever want to continue his study at Spicer in theology, that he would grant sponsorship. So I went and I talked to the president in his office, and he said, well, boy, you no need to go home. Today is the Friday, and that was Friday by the grace of God. I want to thank God for being a Friday on that day, because in the evening, some leaders were going to come in Spicer for worship. And he just said that after the Vesper service, you come and meet me. I said, okay. So that was Friday. So I took my bag again from the gate and I kept it in the room. My heart was very happy. I was very happy and joyous to know that I am going to continue my studies, and the president has given me word that he's going to help me. So in the evening, on Friday evening, many leaders from the local field came to take up Vesper service. Now um, that was practiced in Spicer, that the first Sabbath or the first Vesper or the first Sabbath service in Spicer were taken by the local leaders of the field who would come to Spicer and take it up. So many of our leaders came there, and after the church service, they started wishing one another happy Sabbath and meeting and shaking hand. I also went to President Sir, and I said happy Sabbath, sir. And then he introduced me to one of the our leaders, and he told him, "Can you please sponsor this boy?" And the leader said, "Okay, we will try to do something for him." And then the president also told the leader, "I have seen his work. He has worked in Bobley School. I have got his report. His reports are good. And if you don't sub-sponsor such students, then the Maharashtra field may not have workers." That was his language. Uh, and they were happy about me, and they said, "Okay, today is Friday, tomorrow is Sabbath, and Sunday we don't work. So on Monday you will have a letter of his name on your table." That's what they discussed. I came out, and on Monday, um, I saw the list of 25 students on the letter. I didn't realize that there were 25 students like me who were going to leave campus on that day. But just because God inspired me through some people, encouraged me to go and meet the president, 25 students were got sponsorship at that time. And they also thank God that they were also amazed how it happened. And later on, we found that there was a plan that division had for the students to sponsor from each unit five students from each union. They were going to sponsor five students, and it was in the year 2009 that plan was executed by the executive committee of the division office. The first leader who came and told me the good news was conference president, Pune conference, Central Maharashtra conference president. I was on the Taj Road going for my meal, and he came from cross. He came and cross and told me, "Congratulations, Sumeet, you got a sponsorship." And I, right there, I in my heart, I praise God and thank God for His help that I've never thought of. The another Now that was the education, that was the theology, my theology part. I finished it in the year 2013. Now the time came for me to start my work. So I wrote an application to the union and to the concerned people. They appointed me on a border of Gujarat state, a tribal belt, where I did not know language. The local dialectics was quite hard for me to convey God's message and to evangelize the city. I was expected to start Adventist work from the scratch. Again, a challenge. So what I did, I was told by my elder brother-in-law, that he had an experience with God, that he came from a Hindu background. He was a strong. He was an atheist actually. Later on, he came to know Adventist. He became Adventist, and now he is a staunch Adventist. In his life, uh, uh, he had challenges, and God had taken him through those challenges. But what he practiced was that he told me, that he shared with me, that 4 or 5 long years he had practicing. He was practicing to get up early in the morning by 4 o'clock and spend at least 4 hours in studying and praying to God. That he did for 4 or 5 years with some of our students in Spicer, and with some doctors in the Pune Adventist Hospital. And he shared that. And he said, "You no need to go anywhere and and evangelize. You don't need to go. What you do is, this is the time of my initial appointment. What he advised me is to do that you go on your knees, get up early in the morning by 4 o'clock, spend time in prayer, at least 2 hours. That I started practicing, and behold, and when I started that, after 6 months and so, people started coming to me. They had one church there in a Pentecostal church. That was the only church in the entire tribal belt. It was a district. It is known as a Dang district on the Gujarat border, and that district is located on a hill, 35 kilometers all around, everywhere guard session. No, by 7 it is a dense dark. You cannot go out, you cannot move around, but after 7 o'clock in the evening, because it's all around, it's a jungle, you cannot go anywhere. That that uh, that so was the place where I began my initial appointment. Again, when I practiced that, getting up early in the morning, 4 o'clock, studying, doing personal devotion, taking some notes down. After 6 months, people from Pentecostal church and other independent churches, they came to know that there is a church, a Seventh Day Adventist church. We have a school in Awadang, by the way, till eighth standard. And when I was there, there were only 4 students in that school, but we didn't have a church there, and that's where I was supposed to start a church. So I had initial members who were actually from government. They were government servants. Some were policemen, some were that what we call forest engineers, because since it was a forest area, all over the forest engineers, and they were renowned people in that area. So 12 of them would gather around me for every evening from 9 till 12 o'clock in the middle of night, just to study the Bible with me. And I thank God, for 1 year I studied the Bible, and I got those 12 souls to the Adventism. I i studied with them Daniel and Revelation. I studied with them, and actually they were attracted to Adventism only because of these two books, Daniel and Revelation, and the prophecies that we have. Thank God for that. And they interestingly studied their Bible, and they said, they testified that God has brought you, sir, here, and because of what we have studied, we want to thank God. After 1 year of term, I moved to the North Maharashtra section, again, where I was asked to revive 3 churches which were already dead. And I went and I moved to 3 churches where God used me mightily, and we had a great revival in those 3 churches too. After which, now this is something unique I got to experience in my ministry, where God heard my prayers. After a struggle in the ministry for this many months and years, now this till this moment of my life, I was doing my ministry in my local language. But now the time has come to go and pastor a church which was an English church. That was Mumbai Metro section, and it was a main church, Mumbai church, Mumbai Metro section church, a main church where I was called to pastor. And the first 6 months of being there, I just fasted and prayed, and I said, God, I have not come here to learn how to speak English. You called me. You have given me messages. I need to take these messages and give to your people. Now it's your work. This was my only prayer to God. Lo and behold, God taught me. I really tell you, my people, I really tell you, my brothers and sisters, I did not take any class. It was completely on basis of prayer that God taught me how to speak, how to communicate. And after 6 months, I took my first sermon in my life in English, and that was blessed. That was a tremendous blessing for me and for my family. After 3 years from there, as I finished my work there, and I moved to Ahmedabad, where I'm pastoring now. Another testimony that I would like to share, and I would like to conclude, that God increased my faith in Him so much that today when I share my testimony with people, they laugh at me. My children have not been vaccinated. They are not immunized because I allow my children to live by faith, and we also live by faith. We believe that God is our creator. He is the one who keeps us. He is the one who protects us, and He is the one who will take care of them. And I also struggled to have this faith in Jesus Christ. Again, my elder brother-in-law, who got the baby girl, and he decided not to vaccinate his child. As a family, we shouted at him and said, "What kind of father you are? You are not vaccinating. What if she struggles? What if she has this problem? And what we yelled at him, but he was very firm. He is a Hindu, and he came from a Hindu background and atheist background, and he experienced God in his life. He experienced God's miracles in his life that we did not experience all through our life, being born, being Adventist for a generation. But when he became the part of our family. He really blessed our family, and it was his first child who was not vaccinated. He said, "Just give me 5 years." Do you believe he told us, you said that she will suffer so and so. So he said, "Give me 5 years and you will see God's miracle in my daughter's life." And we waited for 5 years. Nothing happened. She lived her life happily. We got a report from her school stating that she's a proactive girl in her class. Wow. What is that? Just because he allowed his daughter to live her life in the faith of God. And after her, all the children that were born in my family, it means in my sisters and my family, none of them are immunized and none of them are vaccinated. Even today, I tell my church member, if there is any child and they come, many of them, they come to me and they talk about the COVID vaccine. I'm not here to discourage you not to take the vaccination. It is your a personal decision. You can refer to the Bible. You can do your study. You can pray about it. You have enough time. But that's my faith, and that's the faith of my family. And we still promote that God is our protector. He sent us to this world with a purpose, and once that purpose is fulfilled, then it doesn't matter for me to live or die. Once God's purpose is fulfilled in our life, my dear friends, it doesn't matter whether we live or die in this world. If He allows them to come, we should happily accept. But we should not live, uh, we should not find our own ways to continue to live. If it is God who is allowing you to live, then He has a purpose. We need to fulfill that purpose. And this was my thought when I actually entered in the ministry. And during this pandemic, when the pandemic hit India for the first time, I was staying on the fifth floor. I'm staying in the same building. I was in the fifth floor. My wife is a nurse. She's a BSc nurse. She had completed her nursing. And with a goodwill, as a neighbor, my neighbor was having a COVID-19, which she didn't realize, not even I realized that he was just sick. He said, "I am having some fever. I got cold and cough, and doctor suggested me to take some salines at home, and then I'll be all right." So his wife came to my house, and she requested my wife if she can go and put a saline to him on at home. And with the goodwill, she went on and she put the saline in, and she came back home. Next day, he went for a test, and he turned to be COVID positive, and we were in shock. We we were shocked. It was very first time because the situation was very tough. No, and then the government people came. They sealed our house. They sealed the neighbor's house also. Quarantine. My wife started crying. My mother started crying, and I encouraged them. I said, well, 14 days quarantine. It's a time to spend. It's a time that we should spend with our God, because now we have nothing to do. We cannot go out. Being at home, we cannot do. Um, Somehow I encouraged them, and my mother, who was taking tablets for BP, for those 14, no, not for BP actually, she was taking tablet for acidity. And I told my mother, Mom, you're not going to take tablets now. You're going to spend time only with the Bible. She started reading from the book of Genesis. She finished Revelation till within 14 days. And she was very happy. She stopped medicine. She was living a healthy life. My wife, she never took a Bible to read, but within those 14 days, she finished her Bible reading. And now still they are practicing. They are having prayers. They are having prayers at home, because that's the experience God gave us during those 14 days of quarantine. We we prayed, we knelt down, we confessed, we asked God not only during this time, but we need to continue this relationship with you till Jesus Christ comes on the cross of Calvary. From in the clouds of heaven, and really, God really blessed us, and now our church is happy that even I have started early prayer sessions for my church here in Amani Nagar, Ahmedabad. Everybody is interested. Even sometimes I neglect this prayer, but they call me early in the morning. They said, Pastor, you have not started the Zoom meeting. We are waiting for you. So that is the grace of God, that my members, even my members, are they are happy. They want to continue these prayer sessions early in the morning. Now it has been 1.5 years we are continuing early morning prayer sessions by 5:30, and God has been miraculously working in our church. It has been divine. I want to thank God for His grace and mercy. May God continue to bless all of us. It is really, really, really a great miracle when you wake up early in the morning and spend that 1 or 15 minutes with God. No, just ask to secure His presence in your life for that day, not for tomorrow, not for year, not for a life, but that every day, and you will see God working in your life. May God bless all of us. I want to close my testimony here.